Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Strong and Bold. Today, we are going to look at strongholds and against families, or strongholds vs families. So today we are going to look at two stories or two families and compare some. And the first one, we're going to look at David's family. So we all know how he was chosen to be the king of the Israelites after Saul. And we know when he was going to be anointed, there was the prophet Samuel went to oil Jesse's sons, and the oil wasn't flowing on any of the boys who are lining up. And then someone was like, "Am I in the wrong house? Because why is this oil not flowing?" And then it's like, "Do you have anybody else?" And then Joseph said, "Yeah, there's the little one who's with the sheep." So that showed that it's possible that David didn't feel belonging in his family, and also there's a high chance that he wasn't he could have been the black sheep of the family, because there was even a time when David was bringing his siblings lunch when they were fighting with Goliath. They were like, "Oh, you come to mock us, you come to, you know." So there was always like that tension or attitude towards him. So moving forward, we know he got married and he took somebody's wife, and some of his sons also took their, like, some of his wives to be their own wives. Like, now that's where the family tragedy starts, right? And then moving forward, he has a son called Solomon. And Solomon was the wisest man who has ever lived. However, his weakness was also women. And at that time, there's a part in the Bible that says that he shouldn't marry women from other places. You know, ABCD. You can read the Bible. I'm not a Bible scholar, right? Um, However, the story of Solomon reminds me the story of Samson. There were also like some guidelines that Samson shouldn't have crossed, but he crossed. He fell in love with this lady, Delilah, who was from a different tribe. And anyway, so there could be possibly a pattern. Like when Solomon was conceived, the angel told his mother what he shouldn't eat, they shouldn't cut his hair, so many things. So I feel like there's some boundaries that God puts in our life, personally and as a family. When those things are uh, are broken, then that's um I'm a Catholic, so we don't believe in family curses. However, there's people who believe in family curses, but we believe when Jesus died on the cross, all that like lineage carrying on issues and stuff, like he broke it. But we believe in strongholds. Like, we believe there's some family strongholds culturally and individually, and like in a family cohort, right? So for instance, we can look at Solomon, and we can look at his father, right? So his father had many wives at that time, but he still lasted about for someone else, right? And then that also caused an innocent blood. And then you can start seeing how his family breaks down further when even his sons tries to kill him because of power and all this. So I feel, but however, when Samuel came to him and gave him an example of a man who had done A, B, C, D, and Solomon said, "That man is you," because David didn't think about what he had done. He's like, "Oh, that man deserves to die." But when Solomon said, "Sir, that man is you," then he was repentant, right? He repented. However, you can see like that is when his family lineage starts to break down from that part. Even if Solomon had tried to kill him and David had opportunities to also revenge and avenge, he didn't, right? So then, if David could have worked on his issues, on his insecurities, he wouldn't feel like, for me to be, I need to take somebody else wife, right? You already have enough, so that is last. And then we do also remember that also one of his sons slept with his own sister. So that spirit of lust started coming into that family. And also that's the same thing that impacted Solomon. It's that spirit of lust. He had like 1,000 wives. We know, like, nobody can look even after more than one. Like, if you are a loving, caring spouse or husband, one wife is enough. But Solomon broke the record. He had 1,000. So then what does that say? And even some of those wives he had, they brought different gods. And pushing forward, we know one of the wives he had was the lady who came from Egypt. She was a queen, and she's like, oh, let me go to see Solomon. Everybody talks about him. And that time in Israel, they had never seen such great wealth that this queen brought into the country. I'm not sure if she was a queen or she was a princess, but she was something royalty, right? And moving forward, she came bearing a son. And not too long ago, that generation started fighting to go back home where they belong. Now you see how family lineages get impacted on decisions that people choose to do. And this is why I strongly feel like if you want to bring children into this world, if they're not like accidental, like sometimes things happen that you didn't plan, people get raped and people like, and anything because of biology, children are brought into this world. But even if an incident has happened, and my heart strongly goes to those people who have been impacted in a certain way. However, if you choose to be a parent, either a father or a mother, there's things you need to say that this is going to end with me. For instance, I grew up in an African culture. You saw those memes that they say African parents are built different. They are really built different. However, my mom is my strength. My mom is my pillar. This woman, she's amazing. She is God-fearing, but again, she's an African parent. She was one of the most of the first girls to be educated in her district back then. So I have learned so much from her, and like she's her strength, her resilience, like it's something else, right? And of course, when I was young, we were not like besties, like we're not close, but now we have so much in common. I am a parent, she's also a parent, so like she's my best friend. All that I can say, she is my best friend. We are so close. Yeah, so close. She knows everything apart from those things, but she knows everything. Anyway, so when I became a parent, there's certain things that my mom did, or like the way she raised us, and in that circumstance, that's the best she could have done for us. But I said, it's going to stop with me. I'm going to seek therapy. I'm going to get the help I need. I'm going to get educated. I'm going to be the best version of myself for me to be the best parent I can be to my children, right? And self-improvement, self-development, it is one of the hardest things, right? It is one of the hardest things. I remember when I had moved out of the home and then I came back. Damn, the first year was hard. I remember crying a lot because I had to work and I had to do so many things for one person, right? However, I don't feel that God gives you a burden that you can't overcome. So through that step and stages, I became resilient, but also I developed interpersonal skills. I was I was short tempered. Mm-hmm. Not like violent or stuff. Like, yeah, like I'm short tempered. Like, I do not have patience. I do not have patience in me. Even still now, my patience has gotten a little bit more better, but yeah, still, that is not my strongest pillar out of all the attributes I have, right? However, so I had to work on myself and say this is going to stop with me, right? And I know there's families where you grew up knowing like your father is cheating on your mom, you saw your father cheating on your mom, and or your mother was cheating on your father, and it's like it's a norm where you grew up in the environment you grew up, right? So when you step out of that environment and then you hear like you see, for example, for instance, for me, I didn't my dad died when I was young in a war, and in my family, uh, most of most of their spouses, their husband, die. Because I'm not certain because of sickness, but die a bit earlier on after like their marriages, you know. So for me, it was a fear. It was a fear like, look, I do not want to get married and then this son of man leaves me, you know, because I saw how my mom was struggling and raising us and educating us. And look, we grew up in the ghetto, like we really grew up in the ghetto. And but it was because of her roots, like value for education, discipline. She like her I can't even say this. Like the way she was raised, the standard that were embedded in her made her who she was. My mother has never remarried since my dad died. And I remember one day feeling relieved when she said like her love died and that's it for her. Because we have seen so many stories where like stepdads abuse their stepdaughters, and it happens even now, right? So that time when she said that, it gave me peace. Like I felt, whew, now I can trust you, right? And like I felt relieved. I don't know why, but I felt so strongly relieved. What I'm saying is like, look, even if your parent ever decided to remarry, I think there's a high chance that's the right thing for her to do or for him to do. But also, I feel that because of sin came into the world, most of the families are not what God meant them to be. In the story of uh, um, in the garden, that was a nuclear family. That is the kind of family God had intention for us to be. But because of sin, because of so many things like lust, like greed, many people tend to not even marry the right person because of different circumstances. You could marry somebody for status, for money, to be educated, to be in a certain family. So it's like the core values of why you are getting married or why you are settling with somebody, they're not there. But for me, I strongly believe that marriage is ordained by God, and there's a reason why God chooses A and B to be together. And those people who believe in polygamy, I can say to each with their own, but if God knew that polygamy was meant to be, he would have made Adam and Eve's. Emphasize on the S. Lots of Eve's, right? Or he could have made Eve and Adam's, right? So for me, it's like we, I'll say sometimes it looks like selfish on us as adults, out of like selfish desires, selfish needs. Sometimes like we bring children into these family dynamics that it's going to have long-term impacts on them. So for instance, if you know, like, you're doing one night stands, or if you know you're not like serious with somebody, you don't plan on having a future together, well, why would you be procreating life with these people? Because at the end of the day, children suffer, and then they see the environment they grow in, they are raised in, and then they make the decision. Some will say, I don't want to have a children because of that what they saw, or because of the hardship they faced. Some end in foster carers, and some of these places are not conducive environment for children to grow up in. So, like, for instance, my mistake becomes my children's mistakes, and then my children live a life beneath what they were meant to be because I was selfish. Maybe not to use protection, maybe I wanted somebody, so many different things. However, I am not here to judge. Whatever has happened, but we have the opportunity to be better parents, to be better people, to be better individuals for the upcoming generation, for the next generation. And that's why I say you need to say it ends with me. If you grew up in a family where like alcohol and drug abuse is inevitable, everybody is a thief, and it's like we have seen movies around those things, it gets to a point when you say, like, I don't want this lifestyle for my children, for people who are going to come in my life. So what do? You break that cycle, and it is possible. So strongholds and cycles are similar, are the same things, but it comes back to you as an individual. Do you want your children to go through that? So for instance, if you grew up in a broken family, let's say your dad had 3 wives, or your mom had different kids from different partners, and then that becomes kind of normal to you. But to a place like I grew up, where women, they raise their children, they don't get remarried, that is, for me, is admirable, and I'm sure it's not for everybody. However, they might see it's better for me to raise my children alone than for them to be impacted by all these other things. Growing up in the areas that I grew up, like, we saw domestic violence, like people being beaten, like blood coming out from the mouth. It's like, it's kind of almost normal. It's not like a big deal until somebody kills somebody. And most of the time, it's like still the victim gets to be blamed. And this is why I say bad people are bad people. It's nothing to do with race. It's nothing to do with culture, but they're just bad people. And also, these bad people make bad things happen to good people. So these are things we need to say, like, sometimes, look, you didn't deserve anything that happened to you, but it's up to you if you want to move forward, if you want to stop drinking, if you want to stop using illegal drugs. And even as a practitioner, there's so much as practitioners people can do, but also a lot of that comes to you willingly wanting to change your life for the best. So for me, when I became a parent, I said, it's going to end with me. Whatever stronghold, whatever background, whatever things I went through as a child, as an adult, as a teenager, I said enough was enough. And I wanted to do better and be better for my son and be better for my children. And if you even decide to raise your children by yourself, and God knows you need a spouse, you need a partner, you need a helper, He will make that happen for you. But all I can say, as the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything will be added unto you. So for me, I'm going to leave this by saying, look, if you have strongholds or some things you want to overcome, read Psalms 91. That Bible verse, when my priest told me when I was going through some of the hardest times of my life, I was reading that Bible verse on for myself, over my family. and it does wonders. It did wonders for myself. So, and if you want a Bible verse that can comfort you, and like just know that you are deeply rooted and loved in Christ, and God sees you, God is close to you, God hears you, you need to read also Psalms 23. So I'll put them in the description box. For strongholds is Psalms 91, and for comfort is Psalms 23. And these are the Bible verses I give to my friends, I give to my family members, I give to everybody who's close to me and they're dealing with one thing or another. Especially if people are not like really close to God and they want to start getting close to God in one way or the other. That's the verse I usually start saying, like read Psalms 91 and read Psalms 23, because I will never be here telling you how to live your life or even say, oh, I'm a great Christian, you should do this, you should live like that. No, I'm not a preacher. I'm just a person who believes in the body, mind, and the soul. They work together. God can heal our wound inside and outside. And look, I can also testify that literally God gives you a new heart. So if you have been heartbroken time and time, being with the wrong people, friends betraying you, like your family leaving you, like things does not go well, look, I can attest that literally God gives you a new heart. Because for me, it was hard to forgive. Like for me, it's easy to cut off people. Like you betray me, especially like betrayal, and betrayal comes in so many ways. You betray me, it was cut off, right? And then until I had to deal with a situation where I needed to forgive somebody because this person was going to keep on being in my life. Oh, that was a different ball game. So I think in the next video we can talk about betrayal, like so many ways of the betrayal, because sometimes you might feel this big energy, you just don't understand resentment, anger, where it's coming from. And even me, I was experiencing that, and I didn't even know it was betrayal, because we kind of like know betrayal is A, B, C, D, but we actually experience betrayal in so many ways, the same way I've been talking about grieving in so many ways. So next time we're going to talk about betrayal. I know I have done a video before about betrayal, but this time I'm going to look betrayal in a different context, not just being like being cheated on or being played, or anyway. Yeah, so stay loved. I'll put those videos in the description box, but know that you're not on this path alone. And look, if you want to write to me, there's my Instagram handle, which is fortinamgane. And if you say, hey sis, I need prayers in this area, or I need guidance, if I can support you in any way that I can, I will literally send you links or send you some information. Look, I don't know everything at the same time, but we are all here to learn and share information, because I know knowing and information is powerful. Like education is powerful, knowledge is powerful, and getting to know this information and where to get it and where to get support, it is also powerful. So if you choose to get on the path of healing and recovery, you will never do it alone. I feel and believe that God will always send you people where you need them the most. So stay loved and know that you're not on this path alone. And remember, whatever happened to you and whichever family you are born in, because we don't choose these families, just God places us in these families. There's a reason and there's a purpose. And I can say this right now, that does not need to be your identity, and that does not mean to be you need to create another broken family because that's what you saw growing up and that's what you grew up in. No, God can change that situation. Even if you like your family is already broken, God can amend that. Like literally, God can do so much and so many things. And look, I'm not dismissing when you're going through this difficult, painful times, and even I go through them too, right? And even when I'm going through them, I don't feel God is present. I don't see God sometimes, but when I come out on the other side, that's when I see like God was with me all this time, because He's a God who loves you and is with you and supports you while you are in the valley, and He still loves you and supports you when you are on the mountain top. So even if you come from a broken family or a family that looks certain way, or you even grew up in a foster, or you know, your auntie, your uncle, your grandparents raised you, it does not mean that is your destiny, and that is not your history. That is your history, but that does not mean it is your story. Your story can change instantly, like instantly. If you say, God, I need you to support me, I want to do better, I want to be better, God will clearly do that, and He can change your heart. Even if you feel like, look, even if you are a witch and you say, like, look, this witchcraft, I was born into it, I don't want to, and just say that, God will change that. It does not have to be you, right? But you can also choose to be you, to say, ends with me. I'm the last of ABCD. I don't want to raise my children in this kind of environment. Even poverty, just come into agreement with God, because look, God didn't bring us to suffer on this planet. I do not have money. I'm not rich. However, the little I have, I can share it with whoever needs it. Even sometimes my bank account's like on 00000. Look, that's how I learned to trust on God's sovereignty and also His peace, because He knows what's best for me, and He knows who is best for me and meant to be with me. But I can assure you that whichever step you choose, God is going to be with you, and He will send people to align with you in the moment that you need them, in the moment that you need them the most. So stay loved. I know I have spoken so many things, but I just feel like I should always be spirit led, and some of the times, like these topics, I don't come up with them. It is something that I might be praying and then comes in my heart, and most of the time I will be doing like fasting, and then some of these topics will come and some things like that. So I feel like every time I do a video or I share some information, it's like somebody needs to hear that, even if it's one person. I just i just hope that I'm doing God's work, and it's for His glory, and may He continue to shine upon us and to be with us and strengthen us today, tomorrow, and always. Amen. So my lovelies, I love you so much. Stay blessed, and look, you're not on this by yourself, and just know that God is close to you and He loves you so much. So stay blessed and stay loved up. And look, you can reach to me anytime you want, and you can always use my Instagram handle, Fortina Mgane. See ya. Bye.